Local support for News 6 has been provided by the Northwest Ohio Educational Technology Foundation, Bowling Green State University, and the members of WBGU-TV.
Hi! We're the 6th grade class from St. Anthony's School, home of the Falcons. Welcome to News 6!
Hi, I'm Ann Stexley from St. Anthony's in Columbus Grove. Welcome to News 6. With today's first story, here's Sarah Siefker.
Paging through books has become not the only way to learn history. Recently, News 6 had the chance to meet two postcard collectors that are learning the past from their hobby.
All the postcards that shows an inside scene, and it's the first.
Tom Merschman and Ron Doty have postcards you won't find in the mail. When did you start collecting postcards?
It was about 2.5 years ago. A friend of mine, Jim Brown, and I were at a flea market in Springfield, Ohio. He suggested that we check the postcards from older cities. When we checked, I was surprised to find out that Columbus Grove, Ohio, also made postcards years ago.
Do your postcards tell any stories?
They tell a lot of history of Columbus Grove, buildings that no longer exist, buildings that are still existed but may have been remodeled, about the old roads that used to run through town that now are paved, that used to be just dirt roads. You can look back and see some of the old cars that maybe just a horse and buggies was in there before the cars came to town.
Do you have any favorite postcards?
One is the old railroad station, which now sits where the car wash is in town. That's one of my favorites because I remember playing there as a young boy, about your age in fact, before the building was torn down. The other one I have is across the street, which is where the gas station is, the highest station is now. There was a sanatorium there, the Parker Sanatorium. And that part of that building still existed when I was a young man, and it turned into a junkyard.
How do you preserve your oldest postcards?
We preserve all the postcards, the older ones and the newer ones, in the same way. The postcards fit into a plastic container of sorts, and that container then fits into a loose leaf binder. This keeps the moisture and the fingerprints off of the older postcards, and also keeps the light away from the postcards, and this protects them from the fading.
Today's News 6 is produced by the 6th grade class of St. Anthony's, Columbus Grove. Columbus Grove is located about 25 miles west of Findlay. It was founded in 1864 and has a population of about 2,300.
This next story takes News 6 into the art of wood carving. Stacy and Body brings us the story.
Good to get these grooves and know where everything goes.
Mr. Stexley carves a niche alongside Jepeta's Fairy Tale Workshop. When did you first start wood carving?
I first started wood carving about 5 years ago. I was seeing some pictures of carousel and I wanted to have some idea how to do it. So I joined a club in Lima and they kind of got me started with ideas about how to carve wood. And from there I started to work with the carousels.
What kind of tools did you use?
Some of the tools, I use power tools to rough cut the shapes, and bandsaw is one of the main ones I use there. I use a lot of hand chisels and gouges and things that I use to shape the wood once I get the rough cutting done. I also use power carvers and different rotary bits that I work in fine detail areas.
What are your most popular carvings?
My most popular carvings would be the carousel horses. When I'm at shows, most of the comments I get from people on the carousels. The realistic decoys, the goose I've got, and some of the smaller duck decoys are also a very popular item. Get a lot of response from people on those.
Are there any specific types of wood you like to work with?
The woods that I want to work with usually depends on what finished product that I want. If I'm working on carousel horses, I want to have a finished project that I can see the grain. So in those I'll usually use a maple or a poplar. And if I'm using something that I want to completely paint, like my decoys, I use basswood.
This week's Kids View question asked St. Anthony 6th graders to imagine being a fictional character instead of a real person.
Hi, I'm Aaron reporting for Kids View. The question today is, if you could be any fictional character, whom would it be?
I would like to be Scrooge McDuck because he has a lot of money and a nice house.
I'd like to be Tom Sawyer because he goes on adventures.
I would like to be Ramona Quimby because she's very funny.
William Tell seems to be alive and well in Columbus Grove with Tom Frick's Archery Club. Brent Baxter hits the target for the story.
Version of a longbow. This is the one I shoot in competition.
Bows and arrows are flying the coop at the Archery Club. What is the Archery Club?
Brent, the Archery Club is a group of Columbus Grove and area men and families who got together to practice the art of archery and bow hunting. A lot of us used to shoot years ago and still do, and some of us are just beginning shooters. And we got together, we formed a club.
Why do you practice in a chicken coop?
Well, we looked all over to find a good place to shoot, and we really couldn't find an adequate place. And one of the boys knew Kenny Schrader had this old chicken coop out here. So we came up with the idea that if we started shooting in a chicken coop, if we ran out of feathers for our arrows, we'd have a good supply. Actually, the coop was here and it was available, and Kenny is a real sports-minded, public-spirited citizen. And he agreed to rent us this building, so we came in, cleaned it up. It was really an old machine shed storage area.
What kind of bows and arrows do you use?
Probably the most used by most of the members of the club is the new compound bow. The compound bow uses pulleys to gain some advantage in pulling a heavier bow with less effort. I shoot a long bow and cedar arrows. I also shoot a recurve bow with fiberglass arrows. And most of the guys that use compounds shoot aluminum arrows. I make my own arrows, I make some of my own quivers and arm guards and things.
Can you tell us about the competitions you participate in?
We shoot a colored target, which is gold, red, blue, black, and white. We shoot it at 20 yards for a total score of 300. Last year we shot an individual league, this year we shot a team league, and we'll be shooting some more different types of league competition. We'll also be shooting some open competition, and we use some simulated animal targets.
That's all for this week's show. Join us next time when Woodmore Elementary visits News 6.
Local support for News 6 has been provided by the Northwest Ohio Educational Technology Foundation, Bowling Green State University, and the members of WBGU-TV.